Hey guys, this is Inessa G. I'm in my dental hygiene program. I just started my second year. I am making this video series. This is the fourth video on my dental hygiene YouTube series. And this video is going to be about like 6 different things that I think that every person should consider before going into the dental hygiene field. Some of these things are kind of concepts that I didn't really understand before getting into the field. And although I don't regret going to this field, this might be something that somebody else might want to consider in case it impacts them directly, and this might be something that changes your mind for the better or for the worse. So starting right up, the first thing I want to say, and I think this is probably one of the most important things about this entire field, is that it's extremely physically demanding. So as you know, if you've already done some prior research, you might know that, you know, as a dental hygienist, a clinician dental hygienist, can sit up to 12 hours in a dental hygiene chair, minus, you know, the lunch break or little breaks in between patients. But they're just sitting in one position doing very small, tenacious, and tedious work, and that can really take a toll on your physical health. So I think it's very important to consider this when applying. So if you already have any pain or discomfort in your like neck, shoulders, back, arms, wrists, fingers, think about if this is really the field that you want to take, because this is an extremely physical demanding field, and you don't want to kind of get into the program and then get into the clinical setting and you realize that your body just cannot handle it. So if there's any pain prior to applying and prior to starting this field, consider if this is the right path for you. And now the clinician role isn't the only role, and I'm going to get into this idea later down in my video. But something to think of is a huge percentage of dental hygienists suffer from musculoskeletal disorders, or at least some sort of pain or discomfort during their work time. So if you already have pretty severe health complications or pain in your body, that might kind of prevent or set you back from that. See where you are with it, and like, you know, your body. See if this is something that you would be able to handle and do, you know, until you retire as a full-time career. The second thing is prerequisites and the program. A lot of people ask, how long is it? So generally the prerequisites take about 2 years, plus or minus sometime, and then the program is another 2 years. So the prerequisites consist of your basic biology classes, chemistry classes, you know, maybe your English class, statistics, any maybe even business classes, communications. And with all of that kind of being put together, thrown in, I would say it's about 8 years. So it took me, or 2 years, it took me exactly 8 quarters to complete all of my prerequisites, which is exactly 2 years. Of course, if you're taking a couple breaks in between, it might be a little longer, or if you're taking, you know, 2 or 3 science classes at once, it will obviously go a little faster. So you're kind of on your own schedule with that. Now the program's a little different. It's 2 years, but you're on a schedule with the entire cohort. You get the same classes as everybody else does. You kind of start at the same time as everyone else, and you graduate at the same time as everyone else. And you don't really get to take breaks in the middle. You know, if something happens in the middle of the program, you don't really just get to choose to take a quarter off or 2 quarters off. There might be exceptions that your administrators and instructors might make for you in each situation individually, but for the most part, it's not like prerequisites. You're not on your own. You're with the entire cohort. You guys are doing the same requirements and following the same protocol. So that's something to consider, you know. So like an example would be tough to have a baby in the middle of the program because you won't be able to take time off. So it's kind of like these 2 years of your life you have to fully dedicate to being in school and not really taking that time off. So prepare for that. The third thing that is a big deal is that this program is going to be some of the hardest training you'll ever receive in your life. It is an extremely fast-paced program. It is very demanding, like I said, mentioned earlier, physically and especially mentally. It takes a lot of dedication and motivation and to get through it. You know, it's not like a thing that you just do. You really have to put your time and effort and blood and sweat and tears into it to get through it. So again, something to remember when doing, you know, and it is by all means manageable. It's not something that's impossible. So many people have done it. So many people are doing it currently, but it's just, what are you willing, I guess, to sacrifice in these 2 years to make it happen? And just kind of you like based on your own personal life and the things that are going on in your life. The fourth consideration that is also very important, but a lot of people don't really realize if they don't have, you know, friends that were in the program previously to them, is that the programs, most programs don't actually provide patients for you. Of course, there are programs that do, and you're so lucky if you're applying into a program that has that. But for the most part, at least the programs in Washington State, most of them don't apply or don't provide patients for you. And that can be extremely stressful for people, especially if you don't have friends or family that can come in for you, or can't take the time off, you know, in the middle of the day to take 2 or 3 hours off to come in for you. Just kind of think about that beforehand. If you have a plethora of family and friends and people that are willing to come in for you, that's of course not going to be something to worry about. But if you don't have that pool of patients that you can just kind of choose from, prepare yourself for that. And I would highly recommend looking around, you know, if you're gonna do like, look at all the programs that you're applying to and find out which schools do provide the patients for you. And if you think that that's something that might be a hard thing for you to find, like patients, maybe consider making those schools your top priority of which ones, you know, you would want to get into, just because it can be very hard to get requirements done if you don't have really patients to work on, especially in this time of corona. Who knows, you know, maybe it'll blow over soon, but patients are even more hesitant of coming into the program knowing, or into the clinic knowing that, you know, there is that little risk of them being exposed to something. Number 5 on my list is that the program is extremely expensive, especially compared to other programs that are similar to it, like a nursing program. The dental hygiene program can be very expensive, and this can also depend on, you know, whether you're doing in-state or out-of-state, if you're going for an associate's or a bachelor's, if you're doing it at a community college or a university. All of these things can really play a role at how much the schooling would cost for you. But something to account for is, like, what is your financial plan? Find out how, like, what the estimate is. So for the school that I'm going to, the estimate of the program for the both 2 years is $45,000. And that's a big number, and a lot of the payments that you're making are very upfront. So in the first quarter, which is like the first 3 months of my schooling, I spent about, I think, $15,000, and none of the things that were paid for were done in payment plans, and I don't even think there was an option for that. So you have to have that money kind of just there and ready to pay. So again, something that is very big to consider. So kind of do your research, look at all the schools you're applying to, and give them a call and ask maybe what are the expenses that you will have and what is the estimate total amount of what you will have to pay for, and build a financial plan, whether it's with financial aid or scholarships, or maybe even having to work during the program, which is highly not recommended. But if that's kind of your only way out, then you got to do what you got to do, but find that out too. And then the last thing, and this kind of connects to the first consideration that I was explaining in the beginning of the video, is that most people don't realize this, but there are 6 different roles of a dental hygienist, and clinician is only one of them, which I didn't even know until I got into the dental hygiene program, and it was like the first class that we had, which was all about the field. And that's when I kind of learned about that. So there are 6 different roles. So the first one is the clinician role, and that's the one that most people know about and think about when they hear of the word dental hygienist. And then there's the educator role, which is like your instructors, and this is more focusing on the clinic or the lecture aspect of it, you know, maybe teaching classes and maybe being instructor in the clinic, in the school clinic. And then the third one is a researcher, which is kind of doing all the research for the dental hygienist, and about the oral health field and in general how it connects to anything else. And the fourth role is the administrator role. An example of this can be like the director of a dental hygiene program. So they kind of just make sure everything runs smoothly. They kind of set all the dates of when everything is going to be happening, with all the new cohorts and stuff. They administrate the program. The fifth thing is public health, which is like working mainly with community, whether it's like a community event, you know, providing oral health care to people who either don't have insurance or don't have, for any reason, access to oral health care with private practice. The sixth role is the corporate role, and that can be, you know, either selling products to offices or other clinics or to schools and students, or even having your own, you know, business related to oral care. So these are kind of all the different things that a hygienist can be or go for. And I didn't really realize that, but it's good to know, you know, that if something, you know, God forbid, happens down the road and you can no longer practice clinically, this is something that you can think of going into one of these other roles, and that way you can still be in this field. So that is all for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave a comment and I'll try my best to answer. Also, give this video a like and subscribe. Have a great day, guys. Bye!